Hey everybody, this is Mary Harmon Young. I am a realtor here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and so excited to be here with Life Coach Agents and have you here today. We have a guest that is Gus with Power ISA, and I know you have so much stuff to share with us today, Gus. So I don't want to take too much time on the intro. So kind of tell us just about yourself and what you hope for us to get out, and then y'all feel free to ask questions in the chat, and then we'll kind of get to them at the end.
Love it. Yo, thanks so much, Mary. Appreciate that. It's me, Gus, a former real estate agent out of Seattle, Washington, originally from Mexico. In 2015, I kind of switched from my real estate hat. I started Power ISA because I saw a huge need in the marketplace for people to provide, qualified, high talent, high skill ISAs, virtual professionals to real estate teams all across the US and Canada. I saw a burning need. I started my, Power ISA teaching classes just like this. My first probably, I don't know, 30, 40 clients that we got was from me going, a market center to market center, brokerage to brokerage, teaching a class about ISAs, right? So this is kind of how I started the whole thing by just educating people on how to do these things at the highest level. That's how it kind of started Power ISA, and I continue to do it to this day, right? Just doing education, helping people, teaching people, providing the best practices. I've never been a guy to kind of have all the secret sauce and you better hire us, otherwise I'll never let you know what the how to be successful with this model. And I've taken the completely opposite approach, right? I'm trying to give away as much of this knowledge as possible. To help people out. Some of them end up working with us and hiring us. That's awesome. Some people just find a lot of value, right? And then they refer people to me, which I love even better, right? So all that too. So people working with us, referrals, I love those. But the main goal of today's webinar is to give you the knowledge, give you the nuggets, give you the value on how. And I framed things a little bit differently this time. I said, you know what? Why don't we give this a kind of a talk, a specific frame, which is in 2024, what does it take to make 100,000 in GCI with the help of an ISA? Like if you have an ISA in your team, how can they increase your GCI by 100,000? This isn't, how to get you personally to 100,000. No. This is your ISA producing 100,000 in GCI on your team. What does it take? And what are the strategies to accomplish that? The tools, the lead sources, and the specific case studies where it is happening right now, not in the market of a year ago, 2021, it was a bonanza. You could close deals left and right in 2021, right? We sold over 6 million homes in the US. Not in 2023 and not in 2024. We're not going to be in that level. What does it take to be successful now, right? So that's kind of the feeling behind today's talk. Let's jump right into it. Got a lot to cover today, folks. A lot to cover. If you folks have any questions, please drop them in the chat. Mary's going to be helping me out. She's going to be the voice of the customer today, making sure that you guys are heard. And if you stick around to the end, it's going to be a long one. We're going to go 45 minutes nonstop today. If you stick around to the end, as always, I've got some goodies for you guys. Stick around and see what's up. And also, I'll give you instructions on how to get a copy of this presentation, because I hate it when people have to take a bunch of screenshots and have to write down a bunch of notes. You can get it for free at the end. I'll give you instructions on how to do that, okay? Let's jump into it. So who is this for? Like, who should be attending this kind of class, right? You want to do a better job. You should be in this webinar if you want to do a better job converting the leads you already have. Maybe some of you folks have done a huge investment in online, in outbound prospecting, but you don't have enough deals, right? You might have a lot of leads, but you don't have a lot of closed transactions, which a lot of agents are on that boat. You might hate cold calling, but you know how to close some deals, right, from cold leads. I have yet to meet an agent that loves cold calling, just to be honest with you. Oh, wait, I take it back. I think one crazy person said that they really enjoyed the challenge of cold calling. Okay, one. Everyone else that I know that is successful with prospecting with cold calling, they don't love it, right? They love talking to motivated sellers that are responsive, but they don't love making the 300 calls to talk to 3 people that are motivated and responsive, right? That this webinar is for you. If the market's shifting and you want to find a new way to generate some business, generate some leads, this is a great webinar for you. If you've hired an ISA in the past and you just didn't get the expected result out of that, this is a great webinar for you to recharge and rethink the whole model. If you already have an ISA and you're looking for new ideas, again, this is a great webinar for you to attend and get some best practices on what's working right now in 2024, okay? And if you're considering getting someone for the very first time, of course, this is a great talk for you to jump in, okay? Folks, here is the truth, okay? Real estate agents, and I'm pretty sure this applies to everyone that's attending this right now, and you folks that are watching at home, real estate agents can have success and they can close 10 or more deals a year with the help of an ISA. But the problem is most agents don't understand how to get the most out of their ISA and make them truly productive. Okay. That is the challenge. It's not just about hiring a great person. It's a great on the phone. It's about getting them to do the highest value activity you can possibly do. Okay. Let's jump into what this means. Well, I framed this webinar on 100,000 in GCI this year. Okay. So let's run the math around that because I'll be checking this math throughout each one of the strategies we'll talk about. I'm going to do a math check at the end of each strategy to show you what it looks like to generate 100,000 this year, 2024. I'm going to use the median price of a home in the US, okay? 400,000. And yes, I know West Coast agents and East Coast agents, that's a one-bedroom studio in some of your markets. I get that, but that is the median price in the country, $400,000. Average commission is about 2.5%. You know, FTC, don't come after me. This is an example. There is no such thing as a standard commission. This is just for illustrative purposes, okay? So the average GCI from a deal is about $10,000. GCI, okay? So the number of deals needed if those numbers are true, and they're true for, it's the median price for the whole country, right? Some of you will be way above that. Some of you will be below that, roughly about 10 transactions. For some of you, it's going to be like 3 transactions. For some of you, it'll be 15. That's roughly where you need to be in most parts of the country. About 10 deals to get to 100,000 in GCI for the year, all right? So let's jump into how do we do this? How do we do this? Option number 1, and this is for an ISA to help you with, by the way. These are the top strategies you should be using your ISA to work with you, and that is with your database. And I'm taking the wide definition of database, okay? I'm talking about people you've met, know, like, and trust you, your SOI, your sphere of influence, and those old internet leads a lot of you have, you know, kind of collecting dust in your CRM. You know who you are, right? You know that they're there. Okay, so I'm taking the wide definition of database, and I'm going to talk about how you should be prospecting that and getting the most out of that with the help of an ISA. I always love doing this experiment at least once a year on Lab Code Agents, on different Facebook groups. Where'd your last listing come from, right? I haven't done it for 2024. I'll do it right now this month. Where did your last listing come from? Because I love going through, and when someone else asks it even better, I love going through every single one of those comments. I'm kind of crazy that way. I love finding out, because the reason I go through every one of those comments is whenever I see someone doing something unique, I want to know what it is, right? If someone's being successful with circle prospecting to get listings, I want to ask them, hey, tell me more about that. Because I always want to challenge my own beliefs. I go, hey, are you doing it better than I would do it, right? If someone's having success with TikTok, with YouTube, with Facebook, with open houses or door knocking, I always look at this, folks. I always want to find people that are doing things a little bit differently, because the truth is, when I look at these comments, where'd your last listing come from? Across the board, 80 to 90%, because I count these things, okay? 80 to 90% of people got their last listing from their database, okay? 80 to 90% of you folks out there got your last listing from your database. For the agents that have listings right now, I know it's tough in some areas. If you got listings, 80% and up to 90% out of these, very unscientific, unofficial surveys, I do them all the time, it doesn't change. 80 to 90% come from your database. So one of the first things you should do, whether this is you being solo or with an ISA, is make sure you're getting the most out of your database, okay? Because most agents don't do a great job with their database, their met personal database, their unmet database of those old leads. You're not doing a great job with those. That would be step number 1. Get the most out of that, okay? Get the most out of that. Option 1, database. Most agents have a personal database in the hundreds, and they have an unmet database, some of them in the thousands. of old internet leads, all right? Every single one of those leads can potentially be a client or they can refer you business, but you got to reach out to them, folks. You can't keep them around for Christmas. You got to use them even if it's January. In fact, January is a great time to reach out to your entire database and just ask them a simple question. Happy New Year. I think you can still say that right now. Happy New Year. Happy 2024. How can I help you with your real estate needs for 2024? And do you know anyone else who can help? Because we have the goal of helping 55 families this year. And we'd love to know, who do you know that needs help with real estate this year? Okay. Why your database? I'm not going to go down like a ton into these slides because I think a lot of them are self-explanatory. Your database is your most valuable business asset. Your database is your business, right? This is especially true of your personal Met database because it is the highest ROI of any lead generation activity. Let me repeat that. Your personal database is the highest ROI activity. Prospecting that database is the highest ROI activity you can do in real estate because the people already know, like, and trust you, right? And then, of course, your unmet database can also be a huge source of business. But the highest ROI is always going to be your personal Met database. And if you're not getting 10 to 15% referrals from that every year, which I mean that if you have 100 people in your database and they're not giving you 10 to 15 referrals every single year, I think you really need to pay attention because, in my opinion, you're not doing it right. Okay. You're not doing it the right way. You're not doing it at the highest level if you don't have 10 to 15% referrals. How can you get them? This way. Okay. Number one, if we're talking about your Met database, number one, folks, you got to create your Met database. That's step number one for most people. You don't have it, you haven't written down, and you've got it on your phone, you've got it in social media, it's sitting somewhere. It's not in a sheet where you can actually take action on it. That's step number one. And it has to be minimum 200 people. You shouldn't accept anything less than that, okay? You should get them on a multi-touch program. But there's a lot of things you can do with them. But my number one recommendation is to use client events to market to your database. Okay. You should be doing, Tristan really promotes the LCM model, like, comment, message. You should always like, comment, and message your database. You should get them on the social media with you, whatever platform you use the most, get them on there. But the thing that really, for me, that moved the needle for my business were client events. Why client events? Because it is for me, it was a lot easier to pick up the phone and invite them to a client event than it was doing anything else because I came value first. All right. 4 times a year, and one of those times should be right now in January. 4 times a year, you should be inviting your database to a class, to an in-person event, to a virtual event. It can be an ice cream social at your office, movie night somewhere, drink, snacks at a local restaurant, whatever your budget allows, right? So here's the punchline. It doesn't really matter what you invite them to, okay? Why? Because you want to touch them and you want to find a way to ask them to help you build your business. And you can get 4 to 6 touches out of one event. Out of one event. You're inviting them to the event. Your ISA is confirming them for the event. You're sending out information. You're sending out thank yous for attending the event. You're sending out, oh, sorry, we missed you at this event. You're sending out the pictures, the video from the event, etc. Right? You can get a lot of touches out of just one single event. And when you're talking about database, the more you interact with that database, the more business you're going to get, right? Because these people already know, like, and trust you. This is what matters, okay? The actual event in and of itself doesn't really matter that much as long as your database perceives it as valuable. You want to invite them to the event. You want to add some value with that event, and you want to ask them, make the ask of help, asking them for help growing your business. It is as simple as that. It is as simple as that. If you take a list of 100 people and 4 times a year you ask them for help building your business, you're going to get 10 to 15 referrals. Okay. The challenge is getting you guys to make those calls. That's where an ISA can help out. Okay. They can help you make these calls. Here's an example script. Like I said, you'll get a free copy of this at the end. You don't have to take a screenshot or write this down. But hey, client name, it's me, Gus, with the ABC team. How's everything going? That's awesome. I wanted to invite you to our next event. Yes, my agent Mary is throwing, an Alabama football watch party. If this were like, what football season, and I'd love to have you guys there. It's going to be at, the usual place. Would love to have you there. That'd be awesome. Can you go? Can you not go? Who cares, right? If they can go, that's awesome. Register them. If they can't go, thanks for even considering that. And by the way, as always, Mary asked me to asked me to help to ask you, do you need any help with real estate this year? We'd love to help you out. Let's see what they say. And by the way, we always appreciate and love your help building our business. Do you know anyone else that might need help with real estate this year? That's it, folks. That's essentially the script. I ad-libbed a little bit of that, right? It wasn't exactly as written, but that's the gist of it, right? You should be asking that question to everyone in your database at least 4 times a year. And for me, it was always easier to make that call when I gave them something, I invited them to an event, I went value first, and then I asked them, right, at the end of that script. That made it 100 times easier for me to make those calls, and it'll make it for you too, okay? Folks, let's jump into unmet database real quick, because it's not just about your met database. A lot of you guys have even more people in your unmet database than you do in your personal sphere. We call this a rekindling campaign, okay? Calls and text messages to those old internet leads, they can work because an old internet lead you generated a year ago might have been very top of funnel. This is especially true for Facebook leads, Google pay-per-click leads. A lot of them can be at least a year out. Those aged internet leads can give you qualified leads, appointments, live transfers every single day, but most people give up on them. Okay, they talk to them one time, or they never even talk to them, and they kind of put them on the back burner. And hopefully, email automation will turn them into clients. Folks, that's not how email automation works, right? Email automation, in my opinion, the best use of email automation is for when you call them, they might recognize your name. Okay. Oh, yeah, it's that guy. Yeah, Mary. Yeah, I know Mary. Yeah, she sends me those emails all the time. Yeah, sure. What's this about, right? That is what email automation is for. Email automation in and of itself is not going to get you a bunch of buyers and sellers. Let's be honest about that. This isn't e-commerce where people make a $5 purchase decision, a $20 purchase decision. It's not. Email helps keep you top of mind for when you contact them, they might have an idea of where you're coming from, okay? But you have to combine the two. Calls and texts make appointments and make clients. Email on its own is not enough. It's not enough, okay? So you want to make sure for these unmet leads, you always have a strategy for adding them into your audience, folks, okay? Don't just leave them sitting in that CRM, okay? You want them in your newsletter. You want to get them in your Facebook group. I have a Facebook group with almost 6,000 people, okay? A lot of them are leads that I generated myself through outbound prospecting or ads, all right? Or these webinars, in fact. So a lot of you folks found out about this, this webinar today because you're on my newsletter, because you're in one of my Facebook groups. That's great. That's awesome. I love it. It is the audience effect in action. You want to get these leads in there too, all right? And you want to make sure you reach out, because all of this information, without the calling, without the texting, like I said, it's just not enough. You need more than that. Here's an example of a really simple rekindling script that your ISA can do for you. Hey there, Mr. Lead. This is Gus with Mary's team. I just noticed, you were looking for properties on our website a few months ago or a while back. It could have been years ago, okay? Quite frankly, it could have been years ago, a while back. And I just wanted to ask, have you already found a home in Tuscaloosa? Are you still looking? I'm just curious, right? That's the beginning of the conversation. You just ask that question. Where it's going to go, who knows? But you're asking the question of, hey, where are you at in the home buying process? And you're going to get every answer under the sun. Oh, I've already found a home. Oh, I was turned off by 8% interest rates. Oh, something, whatever it is, right? Oh, they bought a home 3 years ago. Are you thinking of getting the next one, right? Let's see where they're at. You might be in a high turnover area. Start the conversation and ask the question. This is how you get actual deals from your old internet leads, all right? Let's check the math. This is strategy number one. This is database. Personal database should give you about 10% referrals every year. For every 100 people in your database, you should get 10 referrals, all right? Let's switch it over. Unmet database is going to convert lower, folks, because everything converts lower than personal database. Let's be honest. It should give you closer to 0.5% in 12 months, okay? Which means you need at least 2,000 leads, old leads, age leads in your unmet database to get the 10 transactions. That is what the math looks like. So if you haven't done this, sit down and write your database. Every 100 people, and this sounds, I know it sounds crazy, but this is not just Gus saying this. I did this. Out of a list of 200 people, I would close 25 to 30 transactions every single year out of a list of 200 people. Okay, it's a 15% conversion rate. And the red book, for the Keller Williams people in the room, the red book, MREA, says it should be 16%. I was never able to get 16%, but that's the benchmark. The highest performing teams in the country get 16%. I was pretty happy with 15. Maybe you'll be happy. I went conservative with this number. 10% should get you over the line. Okay. This is doable with those numbers. Here are some examples. Here's one great example. So Rudy and Shannon out of Seattle, they had a personal Met database, both of them out of Seattle, a personal Met database in the thousands. Okay. It's so large, they never called it. They never thought of it. It's just too many people. They hired an ISA to help them get through this database, and they set 55 appointments in the first 60 days. Because those numbers are only possible if you've never called your database, okay? That can happen. That can definitely happen, but I recommend calling it more often than that, even if you get less appointments off the bat, because you should be calling it regularly and you should be calling it more often, okay? Let's jump into strategy number 2. Prospecting. How can an ISA help you make 100,000 in GCI? Using outbound prospecting. Why prospecting? Folks, it is the second most profitable way to generate transactions. It's the second most profitable, second only to your personal database. Why? Because it has some of the highest converting lead sources known to man. And I'm talking about those expired listings, canceled listings, for sale by owner listings, okay? And there's more to it than that. I'm not just talking about these. These just happen to be the highest converting. But these actually may not be, it shouldn't be the only thing you have your ISA call for you. But these are the ones that convert at the highest rate, okay? It is much more scalable than calling your database. Folks, if you want to, I faced this challenge myself. My first 3 years in the business, I was able to get 25 to 30 deals from my personal database. When I wanted to grow, it was a challenge for me, right? Because my database didn't grow. Big mistake. My database didn't grow. If I wanted to double my production, I would have to double my database. That was very hard for me to do. But if you're prospecting based, if your business is prospecting based, or you have a prospecting part of your business, that can increase much more easily than doubling your database. You can double the amount of people you talk to through prospecting. That's doable. Doubling the people that know, like, and trust you is very, very hard. Doubling the amount of motivated sellers you talk to every single day, that is much more doable if you're doing it with prospecting, and an ISA can help you with that. Here are some numbers. Here's some real numbers. This is from January to June of last year, okay? Half a year of work. 426 hours, 2,500 contacts in 6 months, almost 200 leads, 40 appointments set. About half of them actually showed up. That makes sense. 11 actually signed. So almost like a 60, 70% conversion rate. That's really, really good. 8 pending, 6 sold. This is half a year. From outbound cold prospecting, calling expired, canceled, withdrawn, absentee owners. There's a big absentee owner part here, and circle prospecting, right? This is a kind of realistic numbers you should expect from a technique like that, okay? Well, you might be asking, okay, great, that's awesome. I'm convinced. Let's do cold calling, but how can an ISA help me do that, okay? Now, if you want to do cold prospecting with an ISA, this is the most important slide of the whole presentation, okay? Because this is what agents usually get wrong. I call this the shaking the tree model, okay? Shaking the tree. And I've confirmed this with Coach Brandon Morenin, a master prospector, right? He's out there. I've confirmed this with Coach John D. Smith, another guy, a master prospector, been doing this for 20 years, right, in multiple markets. And they go, this is the way you can get help and leverage lead generation with prospecting. And you have to understand when an ISA is helping you make these calls, whether it's expired, FISBO, circle, absentee, whatever, appointments aren't the goal. I know that doesn't make any sense, but humor me here, okay? Appointments aren't the goal of these ISAs. Their goal is to give you qualified sellers for you to call and for you to contact. What does that mean? Setting an appointment with an expired seller, a for sale by owner seller, can be very challenging. Okay. That's not the easiest thing in the world to do. So that's not something you want to throw an ISA into. But what they can do, what they absolutely can do every single day is call up an expired seller and ask them, if you got a great offer right now, January 2024, if you got a better offer than you expected, if I could get you a qualified buyer to give you an offer, would you still be interested in selling? I'm just curious about that. Okay. The ISA does not have to get into the marketing plan and the commission schedule. They don't have to get into any of that, folks. They have to ask that question to as many qualified sellers as possible. If you got a better offer than you were expecting, would you still sell this property right now? I'm just curious. Where were you thinking of going when your property was back on the market? If it would have sold, what would you have done? Well, if you can still make that happen right now, is that worth a call with my agent, Mary? Yes or no? Just curious. That's the question they should be asking. And they should be handing those qualified sellers what I define a qualified seller as: confirmed homeowner, confirmed contact information, and they have a desire to sell, or at least curiosity about what it takes to sell their home. And this goes across different lead sources. I don't care if it's a circle prospecting lead, absentee, for rent by owner, doesn't matter. Confirmed homeowner, confirmed contact information, and they have curiosity, questions, or a confirmed desire to still sell their home. All right. And then it's your job as the agent to actually follow up with these folks, connect with them, and then decide, is it worth it to have an appointment now? Or do you still have to nurture them a little bit longer to get in front of them and offer them to list their home? Okay. This is the only model I've seen work with outbound prospecting with an ISA. If you're thinking you're going to hire an ISA and they're going to set a bunch of listing appointments with you or for sale by owners, folks, that's just not going to work. Okay. And a lot of people, unfortunately, get into it with that expectation. Hey, where are all my listing appointments from you calling these, for sell by owner listings and cancel listings and expired listings? It doesn't work that way, right? The ISA shakes that tree, gives you qualified sellers, and then you can talk to them and convince them to get in front of them. Okay. That is the highest and best use that an ISA can provide in this model. And how can you apply it? I'm going to go through this kind of rapid fire, but I'll give you the gist of it. You should be doing this with old expireds. You should be doing this with canceled listings for sell by owner. The sweet spot that we're seeing right now is expireds that are 2 to 18 months old. Although this month, I should take that back. This month, January, is the month with the highest amount of expireds any time of the year. Okay. Over the last 2 weeks, more homes have expired, become expired listings than in any 2 weeks you'll see all year this year. Okay. I'm almost sure of that. So you already have a bunch of expireds this month. You already have that. I would include this month in there, but you can go back all the way back to about the summer of 2022 when we saw expired listings start to surge. Why, you may ask? Because that was the peak of the market in the US. Okay. It's all been downhill since there in general as a country. Okay. That's just, and some markets are a little bit different, I know, but overall, summer of 2022, we saw expired listings start to go up from them just being a huge drought some of the pandemic years before that. You should go all the way back to that moment and follow up with them and just ask them, hey, are you still accepting offers on this property? Okay. If you got a great offer, would you still sell? That's what you should be doing for all these kinds of older expireds, canceled, and even the new. There's no such thing as an aged for sale by owner. There's no such thing. They don't, they either don't stay on the market that long or they list their property. Okay. They either sell on their own, a few do, or they get contacted by the right agent and they list the property. They are more, you got to call the active for sale by owners, but the approach is the same. You're calling them every single week, sometimes twice a week, right? Just to check in. And your ISA should be asking them, hey, I'm asking, is the property still available, right? It's still in the market. Have you got any offers on that property? Okay, I'm just checking in to see, take the temperature of this listing. And I just want to ask, are you ready to talk to Mary so she can show you a more effective and more aggressive marketing plan that can actually get your home sold in this market? Are you interested in that? Is it time? Because we want to be your plan B, right? You don't want to have your ISA fight with the for sale by owner seller. There's no point in that. It's, hey, we're ready when you're ready. Okay. We want to be your plan B. Is it time for us to show you how to get this home sold? Just curious about that. But the commission, but that's a great question for Mary. When can you take her call? Today? Great. I'm going to put you on her calendar. She'll give you a call today. That's it. That's what your ISA should be doing. Okay. Also, absentee owners, folks, this is still, even now in 2024, my opinion, an underutilized lead source, because the people making these calls and mailing them and texting them are investors. They love these guys. Okay. And I don't know if you know this, but in 2024, we're going to see a record number of rental units come on the market in the US. Okay. I don't know if you knew that. As a country, we have never seen as many rental units come on the market, new construction, conversion, all kinds of projects all over the country. They're coming online this year. What does that mean? A lot of mom and pop landlords are going to be under some pressure, right? I already saw this in my market in Seattle last year. Seattle was a little bit ahead of the curve because rents got so high. A lot of new construction built rental units. I wasn't able to raise rents the way I wanted to last year. Oops, I got brand new units, right? Like a mile from my property, renting for the same amount that I'm renting at. I'm gonna stay. I'm good. I'm already at the top of the market. If brand new units are at my same price, a lot of people are going to have those conversations this year. You need to get ahead of the curve and talk to them and give them the good news that if they don't want to continue with that property, you can get them highest and best. You're not an investor. Clarify that right off the bat. You're not a flipper, not a wholesaler. You actually want them to get the most for their money. You or your ISA should be making that call every single day. And last but not least, good old circle prospecting. Folks, people are kind of still shocked that this works in 2024. It absolutely does. If you can talk to 20, 30, 40 people a day, you or your ISA, the ISA is the number one people that do this nowadays. Okay. ISAs are the ones that do this the most. And if they can talk to 20, 30, 40 people a day, they can absolutely make this work because there's an enormous pool of people out there and you want to talk to as many of them as possible. We just had an LCA webinar last week with Payson Robertson, a guy that did 100 open houses in 100 days, killing it in Palm Springs, California. But he does open houses. But the number one thing he does when he's at the open house is, guess what? Pick up the dialer and do circle prospecting around those properties, right? When there's no people at the open and at any given time, him and his team pick up the phone and do circle. And that's how they get leads. No matter what, they're going to get leads from the open house or they're going to get leads from calling at the open house. So all of them do circle prospecting, and I love that. Here are some case studies. I've got one here with for sale by owners, expireds, circle prospect, and absentees. Each one of those, you can check those out. Let's do the math though. Let's check out. Are we still in line with our numbers? Okay. So follow this math. It takes 20 to 30 qualified sellers to get a transaction prospecting over 12 months. If you can get 20 to 30 qualified leads, you should get one listing over the next 12 months. Okay. It can be an even like a better conversion rate if it's expired or FSBO, but I'm going long here. I'm going conservative. Your ISA can help you generate 1 to 2 qualified sellers per day. Okay. That's a realistic number. So your ISA roughly needs to call for 30 days to get you one listing over the next 12 months. Okay. We're following that? 30 days, not 30 calendar days, no, 30 business days, 30 calling days to get you one transaction over the next 12 months. In about 13 months of calling, your ISA can generate that amount of seller leads, okay? 10 plus transactions. This isn't exactly a year, but it's close enough, okay? 13 months to get 10 plus listings is a realistic expectation for an ISA doing this kind of work, okay? And not just that, check out these case studies. They're in the links I've sent you. James, so James is he's a really experienced cold caller and prospector. He didn't generate 10 deals out of one ISA. He did close to like 15 to 20 because he's just really, really good at this. Okay. He did over 3 million in GCI from his ISA team over 3 years. Okay. That's over $1 million in GCI a year from his ISAs generating qualified seller leads for him. He just needed to talk to more people. Had a team of ISAs doing this for him so he could just focus on the appointments. And the kind of calling he loved to do was circle prospecting, of all things, right? So James is really active in Lab Coach. You check him out; he's amazing. He's awesome. He loves doing circle because that's honestly, that's if you do cold calling, that's the easiest kind of call to make, and it's the one I enjoyed the most too myself. Okay, that's what he would do, and his ISAs called everybody else because he didn't want to talk to 15 for sell by owners to talk to the one sane person. Okay, just being honest with you guys, the one sane person that isn't the next agent, former agent, he wanted to talk to that one, but he didn't want to call 15 of them. He didn't want to call 800 old expireds to talk to the 15 or 20 that actually wanted to sell in this market. Okay, so his ISAs would help with those, and he'd focus on the calling he enjoyed the most. We've got Manar Siba, right? He started working with us in September. By October, the end of October, he got 4 listings with his ISA. Manar he's out of the suburbs of Detroit suburbs, okay? So within 30 days, he had gotten 4 listing opportunities, and Manar nailed it. He got all 4 of them, okay? He was 4 for 4 within 30 days. His ISA just needed to talk to more people, right? This can absolutely work, all right? Okay, last one. Got about 10 minutes left. Let's power through. Option number 3, internet leads. Why? So internet leads they're the lowest ROI you're going to get from lead generation strategies. It might be a shock to some people, but it's true. I'm talking about paid ads. Paid ads, paid internet leads are the lowest ROI, but they are the fastest and the most scalable way to get business. Okay. You can get leads through the door in 24 hours. Boom, they're coming. And you can just change your budget and you'll generate more leads. That is the magic of internet leads. There's 2 main ways to generate internet leads for real estate. Number 1, Google PPC. And it's all about generating the right keywords for your local area, right? You can buy these keywords through Google Ads, but you need a converting website, okay? You can't just run these on your own. To run Google PPC, you need to sign up with a company like the Follow Up Boss, Real Geeks, Sierra, Commissions Inc. I'm pretty sure all those guys have great deals with LCA. You should look into them. And you can easily check what your competition is doing on Google, which is, I think, always hilarious. You should Google this in your own area. Like what? These are the sponsored ads you're seeing here. You're from the real estate companies, from Open Door, from HomeLine, from Zillow. You're seeing all these ads. What are they running? Look at your competition and what are they running? And they usually, you click on this link and they land you here. An IDX enabled website. That's one type of internet lead. This is a really typical one. The other one are Facebook. Okay. And I talked about Facebook, check out my last, I don't know, 8 webinars. I love Facebook. Facebook's awesome. These are the top ads you can run on Facebook. It's basically these, okay? And if you don't believe me that these are the top ads, you can go and check on the Meta Ads library and take a look at what your competition is running. And not just your competition, what the top teams in the country are running right now. You can actually go take a look and see. And I promise you it's going to be one of these 3. Homes list ad, single property ad, or a carousel of different listings they have available, okay? Because buyers want homes. And Facebook is great at converting buyers, right? Generating from the buyer perspective. It's great at that. But there's a problem, okay? Generating the lead is problem number 1. Problem number 2 is converting that lead. Folks, I don't know a single real estate team out there that is converting internet leads at a high level that doesn't have someone in this role, at least part-time, okay? Because of the work that it takes to convert these internet leads. It is getting harder every year to convert these leads, okay? You need a follow-up plan. I'm going to give you my top recommendations, okay? You got to have a follow-up plan. This is my follow-up. I'm going to give you two follow-up plans. Number one, for new leads, all right? To get a lead to respond, you got to double dial them right off the bat. Why double dial? Because we're in the age of cell phones, and that's how it works, okay? If you're single dialing these leads, you're already behind the eight ball. You're not going to get through to them enough ways. You got to be texting them, and you got to be combining call and text the first 7 days. Then you can roll that back to twice a week, and then you can go every other week, okay? The first 30 days have the highest conversion rate for these leads. And then you're going to add them to what we call the pond. The the bulk of leads in your database are always going to be in a pond. That's normal. You throw into the pond, and you or your ISA follow up with them monthly, and that's going to be your long-term nurture campaign. Uncontacted leads, people you haven't spoken to yet, you never stop calling them. When should I stop calling? You never stop calling these internet leads, right? You're not hitting them every day. You or your ISA are hitting them once a month and that pond. You're changing phone numbers, okay? You're changing offers. You're trying something different, but you never stop trying to get in touch with these people. And so this is crazy. We did this with one of our clients. I'll show him the case study at the end. Luke Salela, and he had 100 Facebook leads. This is Facebook leads generated. He talked to about 20. He called all of them, texted all of them, talked to about 25 of them, set appointments with about 10 of them. You know what he did with the 15 people he wasn't able to convert? 30 days later, his ISA called him again. The unqualified people, the people that say, you know what, I'm not looking, I'm just getting started, don't call me. No, I'm not ready, I'm too busy, whatever. The people that didn't want to engage, he called them again, and he got 6 more appointments out of those 15 people, okay? Why? Because it was 30 days later, okay? Sometimes you don't connect with these people for whatever reason. Sometimes it's completely out of your control. We give up way too easily with these leads. If they're not saying the magic words, please remove me from your list, that's the magic word, got to be compliant. If they're not saying the magic words, they're just too busy, don't want to engage in that moment, I respect it, and we're calling them back. Even the people that said no, because that's how you're going to get a 10x return from this lead source. And I got my second follow-up plan. It is for nurturers, okay? It is for people that have already been contacted. Folks, this is where you do not use automation, okay? I don't care what, maybe your newsletter, maybe that's the exception. But other than that, there is no automated plan for a contacted lead. That is a nurture. You call those at least on a monthly basis, and you customize the follow-up to their needs, right? Are they waiting on something to happen? You check in about that. Are they looking for a specific kind of property? Is something holding them back? You customize that follow-up plan. There's no automation for contacted leads. There shouldn't be, right? There's no point because you have way more information than any automated follow-up plan can provide, okay? If you're nurturing these leads, if they're doing something within 90 days, you're following up every week, maybe twice a week. That's now business. It's today business. If they're more than 90 days out, you can get away with monthly follow-up, okay? If they're more than 12 months out, I'm not saying you don't call them, but quarterly is probably all right. Quarterly is enough, okay? This is the job. If you implement this kind of a follow-up plan, you're going to get multiples of ROI. Let's check the math one last time before we're done. Conservatively, both Google and Facebook leads converted about 1% in a 12-month period, and it goes up after 12 months, by the way. But let's look at the 12-month period, 1%. The top teams in the country get 3 to 5% from these leads, by the way. But I digress, I'm being conservative here. That means you need at least 1,000 leads generated over a year to get 10 transactions in a year, okay? And if you're not generating enough leads, that's your first problem you got to solve. But the math here works. These leads work, okay? And you need an ISA to follow up because, folks, if you're generating 1,000 internet leads, Let me just tell you, as a solo agent, that is way too many for you to personally follow up with. You can follow up with the 15, 20, 30 people that are the highest, most motivated ones. Yes. But which are those? You don't know. If you're not trying to reach out to all of them, nurturing all of them, having conversations with all of them, you don't know which are the 20, 30, 40 you should be following up with the closest. Okay. You gotta be doing that. Last case studies. Charles and Amy Rosano out of New Jersey, 52 attended appointments. They're doing high level of internet lead generation, 52 attended appointments in about 60 days, and their first closing within 60 days because an ISA was reaching out to their massive amount of internet leads they were bringing in. This is the one I mentioned, Luke, 7 closings in the first 3 months. 15 appointments a week with an ISA. I think he has 3 ISAs now, but he started with 1. And those are the kind of results you can get with these internet leads. Last slide, folks. You have a choice to make. If you're convinced of this ISA model, you got one option. You can take what you learned today, drill down that YouTube rabbit hole and figure this out yourself. Or option number 2, we can help you do this with our Build Your ISA program. We've dropped the information here throughout the webinar. You can check it out. This is what our Build Your ISA program entails. You can check it out on our website. More information, www.powerisa.com/LCA. And last but not least, special offers, okay? You've been seeing this throughout. Folks, if you book a call with us through this month, you get our free Circle Prospecting Bootcamp. That is 5 hours of step-by-step, beginning to end, how to make circle prospecting successful with your ISA. We can also book you on a free trial for Facebook leads for you and your ISA to convert. And if you want a free copy of the slide deck, all you have to do is send an email, info@powerisa.com, and you've got to include in the subject line 100K with an ISA. All right. We're like 2 minutes over. But I think we're good. I think we did a good job today, guys. So I want to thank everybody. Thanks for attending. Appreciate you guys as always. And I'll see you guys on the next one.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I feel like you threw a ton of information at us really fast. So y'all pay attention. It's info@Power ISA. I'm sure you are open to questions if you think of something in the middle of the night, right, Carlos?
Yep, 100%.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. Feel free to reach out if you have questions.